All the best with your project.
Well, thank you.
Okay,
You
and
too.
don't forget my 5 million Egunje. Oh.
Ah, okay.
I keep your
We'll see.
spend.
We'll see.
Okay.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Jack's Curated Business Ideas. My name is Juwon Ogungbe, and I'm here again with my friend and colleague, Jack Lookman, to discuss some of his really interesting business ideas. So today, he is going to talk to us about monetizing poetry for leveraging on by leveraging on the internet. So over to you, Jack.
Th-
Welcome.
Thank you very much, brother Juwon. Thank you very much. Thank you. Hello, my name is Jack Lookman, and today's topic is monetizing poetry on poetry competitions by leveraging the internet. Now, what's the idea? It's about monetizing poetry by leveraging digitalization, the internet, and the profit sharing formula app. What was the inspiration for this poem? The idea is effectively about monetizing my poems. That's what made me think about the idea about monetizing my poems as well as empowering others. And by the way, I have a collection of poems which is called Submission, Gratitude, Faith, and Hope. So that's my book of poetry. I also have Despair, Submission, Faith, and Hope, volumes 1 and 2. But I think the one that actually hit it on the nail was the Submission, Gratitude, Faith, and Hope. So in my quest to monetize that book, the idea struck me that there might be different ways of monetizing poems. Now, the business model. This is covered under methodology and other topics within this presentation. It's designed to be a side hustle, and the profit may not be much, but the social impact might be much. Now, let's talk about the business plan. You need to have a business plan. You need to update it as necessary, and the business plan shall guide your activities and hopefully facilitate beneficial outcomes. What are the requirements for this business? Well, you might need a team, you'll need relevant skills, you'll need digital devices, you need social media platforms, you need to do your marketing so that people get to know about what you're offering. You'll need relevant poems and content. So, for example, Submission, Gratitude, Faith, and Hope. That book, you might be able to get content from there, or whoever is going to be the poetry performer will need to get access to such books. You'll also need collaborators, investors. You may need a platform such as Zoom. You will need prizes, which you'll have to give to the winners. You may need the profit sharing formula app or a suitable alternative. You'll definitely need internet connection, etc. Now, is this going to be a side hustle? Well, it's designed to be a side hustle. Activities may take place once or twice annually or as necessary. Now, what's the unique selling point or unique selling proposition? The internet shall be leveraged to showcase and empower poetry performers and poets as well. Profits shall be shared by leveraging the profit sharing formula app or suitable others. So it's a win-win for most of the parties concerned. And the poetry performers could also make residual income from this business model. Now, who are the target demographics? You could choose your target demographics. This could be lovers of poetry, or children seeking fame, or youths, or adults, or particular geographical locations, or those seeking to win prizes and recognition, or they could be your demographics of choice, etc. Now, how frequently will you do the poetry competitions? Well, you could do it quarterly, biannually, or annually as it suits you. Now, let's talk a bit about the methodology. You need to do your marketing. Contestants shall pay a fee to participate. You need to include your terms and conditions, which the performers may need to sign ahead of participating in the event. So they might actually need to they may need to accept it digitally. They have the opportunity to purchase your ebook, paperback. They shall recite poems of choice. These shall be from the anthologies suggested by you. Excuse me. So for all intents and purposes, they might pick poems from Submission, Gratitude, Faith, and Hope. They might also pick poems from other selection of poems or from other anthologies. So you tell them which of the anthologies are available, and then they can pick poems from there. Part of the prizes shall include a profit share from the YouTube or social media channels. A selection of performances shall be featured on our YouTube channel. The process shall be repeated annually or as necessary, and part of the prizes shall include digital content. This could be online courses, this could be mentoring and coaching, and so on and so forth. Now, let's talk about the platforms which you are likely to leverage. Obviously, you could leverage social media platforms such as Facebook, YouTube, Pinterest, TikTok, Zoom, etc. Excuse me. Now, let's talk a bit about research and development. You need to carry out research as necessary. You also need to research competitors. You need to research the industry, etc. And after doing all your research, you need to optimize your value proposition to get the best possible outcome. Now, let's talk a bit about competitor research. You need to research competitors. You need to leverage best practices, and you need to avoid pitfalls. Now, let's talk about scaling. You need to replicate the business model you could replicate the business model for different demographics. So for example, if you start with maybe youths in a particular area and it's successful, you could do it for youths in other different geographical locations. You could also replicate the business model for different languages, and you could replicate it for adults, children, etc. You could also do the publishing on different social media platforms. So you might pick up the best possible videos and post them on maybe YouTube or alternatives. Let's talk a bit about marketing. You need to leverage social media. You could leverage social media, word of mouth, blog, paid advertisements on Google, Bing, or social media. You could market your activities on blogs, podcasts, influencers, WhatsApp, Telegram, etc. You shall do targeted marketing to your audience of choice. You might also want to have a sales funnel with lead magnets, upsells, downsells, and cross sells. Now, should you do this live or recorded? You might want to consider starting as recorded. And then as you build confidence and expertise, you may then progress to doing it live. As a matter of fact, it's easier to manage recorded events. Let's talk about administration and accounting. You need to manage documentation and finances in accordance with the law and avoid or manage potential conflict. Let's talk about collaboration. You could collaborate with like minds, with successful performers, with other poets, with presenters, with investors, with your team, and other stakeholders. Let's talk about legalities. You need to have terms and conditions in place. You need to have contracts and agreements as necessary. You need to register your business as necessary. You need to be aware of intellectual rights issues so that there is little or no conflict. You need to manage conflict, any possible conflict. So you need to put conflict management strategies in place, etc. Also, to add to legalities is regulations. You need to find out if there are regulations and regulatory bodies governing your business pursuits. If so, you need to carry out due diligence and comply accordingly. Let's talk about outsourcing. You may consider outsourcing part or whole or the whole business to third parties. You need to agree on remuneration and legalities. Alternatively, you could execute the business yourself. So if you're going to be outsourcing the business to third party, so for example, they might do the project management, they might do the administration, they might do the video recording and all of those things. They might actually execute the project. And then you might either agree to pay them a fixed amount or a profit share or both. You'll come to agreement with them, and then they could just do it on your behalf, and then you just get your own cut of the profit. Now let's talk about risk management. There could be technical issues. There could be staff absence or disappointment. There could be sickness of staff on the day or at any point in time. There could be inability to break even from the business model. There could be performances of some of the performers off script. So maybe you've told them ahead of time that this is what they're supposed to say, or this is the script, or that they're supposed to follow. Some of them may actually go off script, especially if it's live. And another risk that may be in place is internet disruptions. So you need to manage that as well. And then whatever other risks that you can think about, you have to manage. And also, as you continue with your experience in the business model, you can continue to perfect, you come across other risks and things like that. So you need to update your systems, your business plan, etc., to accommodate this. Now let's talk about stakeholders. These could include funders, marketers, presenters, published poets, entrepreneur, project manager, social media manager, profit sharing manager, administrator, etc. Please don't be scared with the long list. Most of these jobs could be handled by the same person or by two people or maybe three. So, but these are some of the aspects of the business that need to be handled. Now let's talk about terms and conditions. You need to spell out terms and conditions clearly. You need to update them as necessary, and you need to avoid or minimize conflict. Now, let's talk about some of the benefits and opportunities from this business model. These include empowering stakeholders, empowering poetry performers, profit sharing with poetry performers, passive residual income, franchising, mentoring and coaching, content creation opportunities, job creation, scaling of the business model, promotion of literary works, showcasing of performers and the poets, confidence building of the performers, that's the poetry performers, and of course, empowerment of the poets, etc. Let's talk a bit about threats and weaknesses. Now, there could be copycats who will copy your business model and might even improve on it. There could be fraud somewhere along the value chain. There could be disappointments, maybe on the day of the event or things like that. There could be staff absence. There could be greed. There might be greed amongst the stakeholders or part of, among the stakeholders. There could be conflict as well. There could be intellectual rights issues. There could be technical problems. There could be termination of social media channels. Sometimes Facebook, YouTube, etc., they might just decide to disable your account or terminate it, and they might not give any proper reason. So that's another threat. And whatever other threats you might think of might be valuable. Now let's talk briefly about budget. You need to calculate and articulate your budget and then feed this into your business plan. Let's talk about costing and pricing. You need to cost marketing, the prices that you're going to give the winners. You need to cost human resources. You need to cost profit, sorry. Obviously, when you are doing the business, you need to profit as well. So you need to include a profit margin. You need to cost the administration, the equipment, social media management, internet access, and so on and so forth. Now let's talk about funding. Funding could be through stakeholders, investors. You might decide to fund it yourself. etc. Let's talk about monetization. You could actually sell paperbacks and ebooks of the poems. So, for example, my book of poems, Social Submission, Gratitude, Faith, and Hope, for performers to partake in the event, they might need to buy the book, either the paper book or ebook, in advance so that they can rehearse their performances. Ditto for other poets who are collaborating on the project. Also, if there are increased views and subscriptions on your social media platforms, you should be able to monetize. Also, when performers are applying to be part of the project, they need to pay an application fee of application and administration fee. So this might not be much, but they need to pay to register to participate in the event. Also, I've mentioned social media monetization. So, for example, if you have a bank of so many of the recorded videos on your YouTube channel, for example, when it becomes monetized, then you can make money from that platform, and then you can also share the money. You can profit share with stakeholders and the performing poets. Poet performers. Now let's talk about profit sharing formula. Now, profit sharing with stakeholders shall include top poetry performers. So, for example, the top performers, those who perform very well, in the event, you might want to post their poems on YouTube, for example, and monetize, and then you can profit share with them pro rata. You could also leverage the profit sharing formula app. This is an app which is on my to-do list. Hopefully, it should be ready, hopefully this year or next year. Also, information about the profit sharing formula app is available on our YouTube channel, which is Curated Business Ideas, and it's also available on our blog, curatedbusinessideas.com. And it's also available on paperbacks. It's available on Amazon. If you do a search for profit sharing formula app and you include Jack Lookman, you should find that information. So there's a lot of information. It's also it's also available on ebook. So if you want to learn about the profit sharing formula app, which we intend to do, please visit those platforms. Now, let me share a case study. It's a hypothetical case study. So as the project manager, you collaborated with a few poets of interest. You pitched the business model. You managed expectations. You sorted out legalities and agreements and contracts. You agreed on the profit sharing formula as well as the project execution. You then articulated and managed the plan as the project manager. You created a team for project execution. You advertised the event, making sure that the different books of poetry were readily available, either digitally or on paper. You articulated the plan. You included the scoring formats. The participants could record their performances in audio or video. However, for those who record on video, those ones will score higher marks than those who did it on audio. So for all intents and purposes, if there's the same presentation in audio and video, then depending on what you agree, for the video, you might multiply the score by maybe 1.2 or 1.5 or something like that. Also, um, and of course, when whatever you decide, this is going to be part of the terms and conditions. Now, the project process may go on for weeks or as necessary. Or if you like, you might do the recording beforehand and then start and schedule it to be presented maybe weekly or something like that. Now, the weekly winners shall then progress to the next round. At the end of the process, there shall be a final winner. You shall then post the best performances or interesting ones on social media as you shall monetize on social media. All concerned participants shall be included in the profit share, maybe for a certain number of years, maybe for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, or whatever you agree. You shall then give the chosen performers, that's the successful performance, maybe the first three or something like that. You might give them digital or physical gifts, or maybe both. And these could include money, digital products, mentoring and coaching, or physical products. Now, a small disclaimer. This is just an idea. It requires perfection. Nothing is guaranteed, although the idea has a lot of potential. So bear in mind, it's not perfect. Now, a question before we go. Do you need to be a poet to do this business? The answer is no, you don't. If you have an entrepreneurial mind, you could collaborate with poets and necessary others to execute and monetize the business. So that brings us to the end of the presentation. Thank you very much for your time. Ireo, Irekabiti.
So thank you very much, Jack, for all that really interesting information. I've got a few questions for you. So my first question is this: who is the target audience for a business of this sort?
Okay. Well, I think this is in two strands. First of all, is the strand for the business and another strand for the performers. So for the business, you are targeting collaborations with other poets and other stakeholders. So you could do the business together. That's one part of it. On the other hand, those who are going to partake in this business, you're going to get performers. So, for example, my book, Submission, Gratitude, Faith, and Hope, there might be maybe children who might want to perform one or two of the poems. There might be youths, teenagers. There may be even adults who just want to read the poem and showcase themselves to the world. So those are different people who can actually perform the poems. Now, in terms of those who are going to be consuming the content, it's mainly going to be lovers of poetry. So it's like they're going to listen to poetry for free. And then, for some of them, they want to just consume that content, which is going to be portrayed in a very professional manner, something along the lines of Britain's Got Talent or America's Idol or something like that, something along those lines. So there might be viewers who want to consume that content. There might even be some people who want to leverage those performances. So, for example, if there are one or two performers who perform very well, some entrepreneur might want to take them on board and use them for a different purpose. So those are different sets of audiences, both for the performance, both for those who are going to be consuming the content, and of course the stakeholders as well.
All right, thank you. So here's a hypothetical situation. So you have a poet of Bengali heritage. Would they be going for the same kind of audience as a poet of, say, Jamaican heritage? Or are there different audiences? And therefore, would these ideas that you're positing, would they have to be customized accordingly to suit, well, the needs of the different communities that these poets could be somehow representing or addressing?
Okay, excuse me. Now, basically for the business, you can choose your target demographics. So for all intents and purpose, if I'm here in the UK and I'm doing the business, it should probably be for maybe the UK audience, irrespective of where their origin is from. They might be my audience. If it's going to be something being done in maybe Jamaica or in Bengal on the Southeast Asia or something like that, on the one hand, you can sell this business model as a franchise, and then they can do their own thing in in the Bengali audience or Jamaican audience, or there might even be another audience, the Bengali community in the UK or the Jamaican community in UK. So there are opportunities for all of those audiences. So whoever is organizing it will have his own audience in mind. And then other people who want to replicate the model can replicate it to their own audiences. So it's a win-win for everyone. So you do
So
your,
they'd customize it, in other words. Is that what you're
yes,
saying?
yes,
So you have the people who would be running the business who would make the decisions as to whether they're doing an intercultural sort of poetry presentation or
yes,
whether they're doing one that is specific to a community of a sort.
yes, yes,
Is that
yes,
right?
yes, yes.
Okay. I thought that might be useful to know for those of us who spend a lot of time amongst poets and other people,
Okay.
because it's quite a sort of diverse
Yes,
field in itself, and a lot is expressed that,
yes,
like a Yoruba Ewi poet might have something very, very different to say to a poet from Algeria,
yes, yes.
and will be reaching different people.
And
Yeah.
I think I mentioned in the presentation, it can actually be done in different languages. So like you mentioned the Ewi, Ewi for our listeners, that's Yoruba poetry. So the business model can actually be done for that demographic as well. So the opportunities are vast. But I think one of the unique selling points for this business, yes, on YouTube, there are poetry performances and all of that. But there's a small tweak to this business model, which is where the performers, those who are performing the poetry, they also get to share, apart from whatever prizes they win, they also get to share in the proceeds from platforms like YouTube. So, for example, for all intents and purposes, we record different poems or different poetry performances on YouTube, assuming we have 100 or thereabout, and we get monetized. Those those performers who perform, maybe the top 10 or top 20 per session or whatever, each time each time we get monetized, they get a prorated part of the profit that we make. So that's an additional incentive for them to do well, and then also for them to market the video. I think I did a video on YouTube collaborating YouTube collaborations. So that's a little tweak to it. And with this business model, if they're going to share for the profits, maybe for 5 years or whatever we agree on, even though they've performed the poem once or twice, they keep getting some residual income as long as we are making money from YouTube. So that's a bit of a tweak to what's already happening.
Okay, well, thank you very much for that elucidation, Jack. And for listeners who've tuned in, thank you very much as well. And hopefully, very soon, Jack and I will be back together, but Jack will be with you again next week. So, thank you, Jack, for all that you shared with us today. And hopefully, we'll be together again on this podcast soon.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Juwon. Thank you very, very much. Hopefully, I'll give you a copy of my book of poems. That's on my to-do list. So by God's grace,
Mhm.
I'll give it to you. And like I shared, there was once I did some poems, and one guy who's actually a musician told me, "Oh, this will be good for my music." So
Mhm.
you being a musician and me being a poet, there might be
Mhm.
a lot of room for collaboration, and we might make
Yes.
money together,
Mhm.
£5 million, etc.
Mhm. Yes, and why not?
Thank you very much for your time, Egbo. Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
And thank you, everyone who's listening.
Okay, thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.